When a millionaire discovered his daughter's hidden guardian, an incredible transformation unfolded. David Bennett had it all: a mansion that rose like a palace among its neighbors, cars that roared like lions, and a bank account that could buffer the world. But behind polished walls and a facade of success, a silence loomed. His 16-year-old daughter, Lily, had transformed her room into a solitary refuge, painting landscapes splashed with emotion that echoed her inner turmoil. As much as David tried to break through, he found himself standing outside her world, yearning for connection, yet failing to understand her vivid yet tangled existence. Then, an unexpected spark ignited their fractured relationship when Lily's artwork won a prestigious citywide competition. News of her triumph felt like an electric shock. This was more than paint on canvas, it was a window to her soul. David stood in awe, marveling at each colorful brushstroke that vibrated with feelings he had long neglected. Maybe there was a bridge to cross after all. And then came Sam. A retired veteran from a nearby underprivileged neighborhood, he emerged as a mysterious figure who had been mentoring Lily in secret. David's heart sank as he learned about this man with weathered hands and stories etched deep in his skin. Here was someone who had seen hardship up close, someone who understood despair in a way that David's cushy life never had. The quiet bond between Lily and Sam created a chasm in David's heart. He realized the privilege that shrouded his world had blinded him to the raw, real struggles around him, but stepping into Sam's world would mean reckoning with his elite friends, those who mocked anyone reaching across socioeconomic lines. Their laughter echoed in his ears, sharp and dismissive. How could David risk social ridicule? Yet, the call of fatherhood beckoned, louder than the din of his social circle. He could no longer ignore the void Lily felt, the unfulfilled cry for understanding. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Driven by a desire to unite, David took on the challenge, organizing an art exhibition. He envisioned it as a heartfelt tribute, with Lily's works and Sam's influence displayed side by side. Yet, what started as a dream quickly spiraled into a confrontation. As guests mingled, murmurs crackled through the air like static electricity, tension coiling tighter with each passing moment. On the night of the exhibition, David felt as if he were teetering on a precipice of judgment. Lily stood timidly, ready to share the inspiration behind her art. When she finally spoke, her voice shaking yet resolute, the room stilled in anticipation. Just as she was revealing her deepest thoughts, a familiar voice cut through the silence, one of David's friends, ridiculing the connection Lily had with Sam, and chaos erupted, drowning out the raw emotions in the room. In that charged atmosphere, David faced a pivotal choice. Would he defend his daughter or crumple under the weight of privilege? Would he embrace the truths he had uncovered, or retreat to the protective walls of his million-dollar life? As tension hung thick in the air, the question was clear: would he commit to building a bridge with Sam or let go of the strongest connection he had ever seen in his daughter's eyes? The answer loomed like the promise of dawn on the horizon, waiting to unfold. David's heart raced. In that moment, he could feel every gaze in the room shift from Lily to him. The air was heavy, thick with disbelief and judgment. Friends, acquaintances, people who had always praised his wealth and success, now watched with sneers. They didn't understand, not like Lily did. She had found a voice through her art and a mentor in Sam, a man who'd walked paths so different from their own. As the derisive laughter echoed in his ears, David felt a fire ignite within him. He could feel the warmth rising to his cheeks. Would he allow his friends to dismantle the very world Lily was trying to construct? A world filled with colors, emotions, and authenticity? No, he couldn't let that happen. Not after finally glimpsing the depth of her heart and spirit that he stepped forward, drawing himself up tall. The murmurs stopped, and all eyes settled back on him. You know what? He declared, his voice stronger than he felt. You don't get it. None of you do. The crowd grew still, surprise etched onto their faces. Lily's eyes widened, a mix of fear and hope flickering behind them. He could see doubt shadowing her expression. Would her father speak for her, or was this just a fluke fueled by adrenaline? Turning to her, David felt the weight of parental love grounding him. Lily is talented, passionate, and she deserves to take pride in her journey. This connection with Sam is not just something to mock. It's a lifeline. He has walked through storms, and he has shared his strength with her. As his words spilled out, something shifted. The laughter faded to whispers. Their faces, once painted with mockery, began to transform into confusion. David continued, art is more than just a pretty picture. It's about expressing who we are, where we come from. And sometimes, what we don't realize is that it connects us to the world in ways that simply being rich never can. Lily stood frozen, her breath quickening, as she watched her father, a man who had always valued status, finally recognize the power of vulnerability. But then came the challenge. The friend who had laughed slinked through the crowd, his smirk returning. Sounds great, Dave, but you really think having a vet mentor your daughter is a smart move? You think this will elevate her status? The crowd watched, ready for the next punch. There it was, a ripple of unease, but this time David felt fortified. It's not about status. It's about integrity and depth. About standing for something real, not just for the polished image we put on display at galas. I am proud of my daughter, the girl who fearlessly paints her heart. The room held its breath, caught in the tension between acceptance and disdain. Slowly, a flicker of applause began, tentative and soft, from those who understood the weight of his words. Lily's face bloomed with a mixture of pride and relief, her heart swelling like a balloon ready to take flight. Just as tension transformed into potential connection, Sam stepped forward, grounding the moment with his steady presence. I respect David for standing with his daughter. It's not easy to break ranks with the crowd, but it's worth it. But just as David thought they might be moving toward understanding, another familiar voice chimed in. And what will they say when they see you keeping company with a veteran? The jeers began again, and in that moment, a storm surged within David. Would he stand strong against his friends, or would the crowd's jeers bring him back to complacency? He glanced at Lily, seeking her gaze, trying to understand if the connection they had just begun to forge was strong enough to withstand this storm. That charged silence, David felt something awaken within him, a determination that could not be quelled. He was ready to shatter the barriers around their worlds. But would it be enough to protect his daughter from the ripples of wealth and status, or would the backlash drive a deeper wedge between them? The pause stretched, filled with uncertain hope, waiting for the next words to break the silence. What would David decide? Would they find a way to stand together against the shadows creeping in? The moment felt fragile, as if it could shatter or bloom, leaving everyone breathless at what might come next. David took a deep breath, letting the weight of the moment settle around him. The murmurs, the snickers, the judgment, it all melted into a distant echo. What mattered now was the love he felt for Lily, the fierce determination to defend not just her art but her very identity. Lily won't be defined by the opinions of others, he declared, his voice ringing with conviction. She is not just another drawing on the wall. She is alive, vibrant, full of ideas that can change perceptions. You can either choose to see that or remain blinded by your own narrow views. The crowd shifted. A few exchanged looks of uncertainty, and even those who had initially mocked began to reconsider their stance. David's heart pounded, each beat laced with hope. And Sam? David continued, locking eyes with those who disdained the idea of a veteran mentoring his daughter. Sam is more than his past, he is proof that anyone can rise from their struggles to inspire others. You might want to see him as less than, but Lily sees him for what he truly is, a teacher, a guide, a man with a heart. This was no longer just about defending Lily's passions, it became a challenge to the crowd's perspective. He could feel the tension lessening, shifting from derision to confusion. A few of his so-called friends exchanged glances, questioning their previous laughter. Lily stepped forward, emboldened by her father's words. She took a deep breath, her voice trembling but resolute. Art is vulnerable. It's raw and honest. It's a part of me, and I won't let anyone tell me what I can or cannot do with it. Sam has shown me that there is strength in being real, in being true to yourself. The murmurs faded into an uneasy quiet. For a heartbeat, David thought he might see understanding, perhaps even respect, grow among the crowd. But as hope began to bloom, the smirking friend ever the provocateur couldn't let it go. And yet, you think that just because you have a rich dad, it absolves you of the truth, your artwork will forever be a trend. When the trendy art collector takes the spotlight away, will you still have the courage? Lily's shoulders slumped momentarily, and David felt that pain like a punch to his gut. But he quickly realized that this was the moment to solidify their bond, to push back against the doubt that had crept into the air. Trendy or not, he countered unwaveringly, it doesn't matter if it's derived from financial privilege or not. Art is universal, it's how we connect. It transcends status whether you're wealthy or not, you have to feel something when you see it. That's what we need to remember. Art is about the message it carries, not the wallet behind it. The silence became palpable, wrapping around them all. David noticed a few nodding, some even whispering amongst themselves. It was still fragile, but something had shifted. He turned to Lily, whose eyes were bright with determination, and he smiled, conveying a secret that only they understood. Together, they could create a world where feelings trumped financial expectations, where art transcended status. A place where her talent could thrive without the weight of expectations suffocating her. Then, just as he felt a rush of triumph and connection settling in, a voice from the back broke the moment, sharp and cutting. So, what's next? You think this will change your situation? This is just a moment in the spotlight, the reality will catch up. Anger flared within him again, but he hesitated. Could he come up with a response strong enough to sever the growing threads of doubt? Or had he chosen to awaken a battle that could explode further? The room buzzed with electricity, filled with tension hanging like thick fog. Would they rally behind Lily and David, or would the jeers push them back into the shadows, longing for acceptance? As David stood on the cusp of this turning point, the path ahead twisted with uncertainty. The audience was waiting. They could feel the stakes rising. Would this moment lead to transformation, or fracture the fragile bond they had begun to forge? Every heartbeat counted as they turned to face not just their friends, but themselves. Where would they go from here? David clenched his fists, the nerves racing in his veins. He could feel the crowd's weighty anticipation bearing down on them, but he refused to let that pressure crush him or his daughter. He could see Lily, standing tall against the storm, directly in the fire of scrutiny, and it filled him with both pride and urgency. Let me remind you, David said, his voice steady now, this is not just about Lily's art. It's about what she represents. There are dreams at stake here, her dreams and everything that she's worked for. You can see that, or you can keep hiding behind your judgments. Lily watched the faces before her, searching for allies in the sea of skeptics. One by one, she saw glimmers of realization flicker in their eyes, a slow unfolding of compassion that tugged at her heart. Art should be free, she urged, her voice ringing clear now. It speaks. It connects. And yes, it can influence, so why wouldn't I want to share that? Isn't that the whole point? To inspire others. To agree that we can rise above the noise. A shift rippled through the group, like waves breaking against the shores of indifference. David felt it deeply, they were beginning to embrace the truth, the raw emotion of Lily's journey, and it sparked something inside him too. Then the friend spoke again, this time less assured. But what if nobody cares after today? David stepped closer to Lily, their shoulders brushing against each other. What if they do care, but you just don't realize it yet? He shot back, a fierce determination edging his words. This isn't just a moment. It's a beginning, her beginning. And if you choose to see it, you might find something incredible here. Lily's chin lifted, daring anyone to dismiss her resolve. I won't wait for a collector or a critic to define my success. Art isn't just about the gallery, it's about the impact. If my work can help someone feel seen or understood, that's everything. That makes me proud. As the crowd quieted down further, a young girl stepped forward from the back, clutching a sketchbook with worn edges. I've been too scared to share my drawings. I thought nobody would get them. But Lily, you make me think maybe I can. David's heart swelled. This was it. This was the transformation he hoped for, the ripple effect of courage, the consciousness sparked in others. Innocent voices emerged to share dreams, offering vulnerable art just like Lily's, and David realized there was power in believing. The air thickened with this newfound camaraderie, and even some of the older critics began nodding, contemplating rather than scoffing. The change was tangible, electric. David could sense it, he could feel it igniting something essential, yet as this glimmer of hope spread, so did a sudden unease. The jeering friend, visibly rattled, shot back with renewed venom. Are you seriously going to pretend that this changes everything? You really think just a few more words will make the art world believe in you? Lily stiffened, but David held her gaze steady. It's not about changing the world in a day. It's about starting a conversation. It's about growth. And none of us are perfect, every artist struggles. But we're willing to try. So, the question is, are you? The challenge hung in the air, a question without an answer. David felt the collective inhale of the crowd, anticipation flowing like the tide. Would this moment reshape their story? Would they dare to connect on something deeper? As they stood before the cluster of faces, David couldn't help but wonder what the outcome would be. Whatever happened next was bound to challenge the very fabric of their existence, and then, just as he thought they were at a breaking point, a loud crash echoed from the back of the room, making everyone jump. David's heart raced anew, uncertainty flooding back in. What could it possibly mean for the fragile space they just built? The crowd turned toward the sound, murmurs rippling with confusion and concern. What else was about to unfold in this gathering of souls? The crowd held its breath, eyes darting to the back as the source of the noise became apparent. A table had toppled over, scattering canvases and supplies across the floor like fallen soldiers. A man in a tailored suit stood frozen, wide-eyed and open-mouthed, his drink spilling on his crisp white shirt. Lily's heart raced, panic momentarily overshadowing the momentum she had built. David squeezed her shoulder reassuringly, an anchor amidst the chaos. Maybe it's a sign, he whispered, even though he wasn't sure what it meant. Just breathe, Lily. The room shifted again, this time with tension inhibiting the energy that had slowly surged forward. David could see a few eyes roll, the disbelievers ready to retreat to their skepticism. But something in Lily flickered, the flame of her spirit was undeterred. Forget about them, she said, her voice like a beacon. This is still our moment. The young girl with the sketchbook remained brave, stepping even closer as if to shield Lily from the looming uncertainty. Why did you throw the table? She asked the man, her innocence cracking through the tension. He shook off the shock and pointed to the pieces of art scattered around him. I didn't throw it. I just tripped. The crowd shifted uneasily, a reluctant laughter bubbling up. David smirked, trying to lighten the mood. Well, that's one way to draw attention. Lily took a deep breath, then turned her gaze to the man. Art is something we stumble over, sometimes, she said. But it's also about picking ourselves back up and carrying on regardless. Yeah. He replied, his voice still shaky. What if it doesn't matter? What if it's just for you? David interrupted, his heart pounding in rhythm with Lily's fire. You mean nothing matters to you? Because that's the real risk we all take here. What if it does matter? As their words collided, David noticed people leaning in, curiosity pulling them closer. The art scattered around the floor had become a canvas for conversation, a bridge over the judgment that had once separated them. The man finally found his footing. Okay, what do you want to say? He asked, vulnerability flickering in his eyes as he faced the two artists before him. The momentum was shifting again, the atmosphere swirling with electric possibilities. Lily took one step forward, her voice growing stronger. I want to make art that helps people see themselves. I want to connect. Someone in the back shouted out, why not share it with the world? Make it a community event. More voices joined in, suggestions bubbling forth like effervescent champagne, visions of performances and art shows evolving with each word. David felt a strange mixture of hope and disbelief wash over him. This could be at the beginning of something that transcended their struggles. Lily turned to face her father, eyes sparkling with determination. Would you help me make this happen? Absolutely, he replied, the words flowing more easily now. But just as the energy seemed to ignite a new chapter, the jeering friend from before stepped forward, face pale and eyes darkening. You really think you can turn this around? Just like that? I do, Lily shot back, unyielding. You might not see it now, but that doesn't stop me. I'm ready to rise above. The crowd buzzed with anticipation, caught between Lily's fearless challenge and the weight of doubt hanging in the air. In this whirlwind of emotions, laughter, and vulnerability, they were forced to acknowledge a raw reality that had transformed the gathering into something altogether different. Just then, a distant voice shouted through the crowd, breaking the intensity. Wait! What's next for Lily and her art? David locked eyes with Lily, and in that shared gaze, a world of possibilities opened up. This wasn't just about them anymore. It was unfolding into something greater, intertwined with every soul standing there, whether they had hope or cynicism. As David held Lily's gaze, he sensed that the journey had just begun. But, as the crowd waited for the next move, a question hung heavily in the air, begging for an answer. What price are they willing to pay for the chance to believe? The air hummed with anticipation, thickening with expectation as eyes flickered toward Lily, the heart of this impromptu moment. She felt an exhilarating rush, a blend of fear and hope igniting her spirit. What if this was her chance? What if she could really create something that mattered? Okay, let's start small, David suggested, stepping closer to the crowd. His voice cut through the heaviness. How about hosting an open art night? We can showcase local talent, get people talking, and build something together. A wave of murmurs rippled through the gathering. Ideas began to spark like fireworks, illuminating the shadows of doubt. An art walk. Someone called out from the back, eyes bright with enthusiasm. We could involve businesses along Main Street, turn the whole town into an art gallery. Yes. Lily exclaimed, feeling the energy shift. We could include performance art, poetry readings, create a space where everyone can express themselves. The young girl with the sketchbook nodded vigorously, her determination fueling Lily's vision. And we can have a mural. A big mural that represents everyone's stories. It'll be a community project. David looked at Lily, his heart soaring alongside her ambitions. He could see it, a mural bright with colors, layers of stories intertwining, a tangible representation of their voices coming together. But the doubtful friend folded his arms, still shrouded in skepticism. And what? It will all just happen. You think a few pretty pictures will change anything? Lily felt her heart sink for a moment, but then caught sight of the girl's hopeful expression. It's not just about pretty pictures, she said, her tone firm yet compassionate. It's about finding common ground. It's about healing through creativity. Everyone has a story to tell. The crowd was quiet as her words sank in. Could it really create a shift? Could it heal wounds that ran deeper than paint? Art unites us, David added. We all have something to share, an experience that shapes us. And everyone, that means everyone, deserves to be seen. There lingered a collective pause as the crowd considered this simple yet powerful truth. Inspiration stirred like wind through branches, whispering possibilities of connection and change. Let's make this a biannual event, called a voice from the front. We could raise funds for local shelters, schools, support for young artists. Make a real impact. The energy surged again, ideas swirling, suggestions bouncing around like confetti. Laughter broke out, mixed with actual conversations about what could come next. Lily's heart raced with every new idea as her vision expanded. Just as things began to solidify, a loud crash disrupted the moment. Once more a display of fragile ceramics had shifted, toppling on the floor. The collective gasp was almost rhythmic. Once again the attention diverted back to chaos. But instead of dread, this time it triggered acceptance. "Well, we all stumble, don't we?" Lily said, venturing into the fragmented silence with a smile. "Isn't that just part of the process?" The crowd roared back with laughter, tension dissipating, their spirits buoyed by the chaos. Suddenly, amidst the chatter and excitement, Lily spotted an older man at the edge of the crowd. His face bore a deep sadness, and he seemed to linger in the background, lost in thoughts. It tugged at her heart. "Hey," she called out to him, her voice cutting through the noise. "What's your story?" The crowd fell silent, all eyes now on the man. His gaze met hers, an unreadable expression crossing his face. For a heartbeat, time stood still. As he stepped forward, the air crackled with potential. The question hung in the air: what would he say? What story did he carry that could change the course of this unfolding gathering? David squeezed Lily's hand, sensing the turning tide. This is just the beginning, but would they be ready for whatever came next? The moment hung like a delicate thread, waiting to be woven into something beautiful. The old man's eyes softened as he stepped forward, revealing a vulnerability that unfurled like a fragile petal. There was a weight to his gaze, as if he carried years of untold stories within him. The crowd leaned in, breathless, eager for the revelation. "Many years ago," he began, his voice trembling, "I lost my daughter. She was taken from me in an accident. I thought I could never heal from that pain." He paused, swallowing hard. Lily felt a wave of empathy wash over her, drawing the crowd closer in their shared sorrow. The young girl with the sketchbook clasped her hands to her chest, visibly moved. The tension in the air shifted, replaced by an understanding deeper than words could convey. "But I learned something crucial through that agony," he continued, his voice growing steadier. "I realized that what we create and share can, in some way, keep the love alive. My daughter had a passion for art. She found joy in painting and in drawing. I didn't realize until later that her art was her voice." Lily's chest tightened as she listened. This man was not just about to share a story, he was about to connect the past with their dreams for the future. "While I lost her physically, I believe she lives on every time someone connects through creativity, every time someone lets their emotions flow onto a canvas." The quietness that followed was profound. It felt as if the entire crowd took a deep breath at once, feeling the gravity of his words settle like dust after a storm. "And that's why I think your vision for this art night is so vital," he added, a slight quiver in his voice. "It's a chance for every story like mine to find a voice again." Tears threatened to spill from Lily's eyes. She glanced at David, who nodded, his expression heating with unspoken encouragement. This was it, the shift she had hoped for was coming alive right in front of them. "Let us do it!" Someone shouted from the back, igniting a round of spirited applause that cascaded through the crowd. The energy soared as more hands shot up, eager to share ideas and contribute. "Maybe we could dedicate an area of the event to stories like his. A space for people to share what art means to them and remember those they've lost," suggested a woman with a sparkle in her eyes. "Yes." Lily chimed in, excitement bubbling within her. "We could create a wall of remembrance, a place where people can honor those they love." Inspired murmurs filled the air again, each idea adding layers to the promise of their vision. Conversations bloomed, seeds of connection being planted everywhere. But just as hope began to swell, the skeptical friend interjected again, his tone dripping with doubt. "Are we seriously going down this road? A wall for lost loved ones? Art has its place, but it can't fix everything." Lily turned to him, determination ignited. Maybe not fix, but it can help us cope, it can enlarge our world, it can bring us together. Sometimes, it's all we need. With that, the older man stepped forward once more, telling the crowd, I spent years hiding from my pain. But art was a way for my daughter to speak when I couldn't listen. Don't be afraid to embrace the messiness of life. It is in those cracks where light gets in. As his words echoed in Lily's heart, she felt a fierce sense of purpose envelop her. They were in the thick of something transformative, and they couldn't back down now, with every intention solidifying, every fearful heart beginning to soften. Lily felt as if they were carving out an entire universe from what once felt like a chaotic mess. When David squeezed her hand tighter, the warmth of his support flooded her spirit. This event is going to change lives, he whispered, and Lily could barely hold back her joy, but just as she was about to respond, a sudden commotion erupted at the entrance. A figure burst in, causing gasps of recognition among the crowd. It was Lily's estranged father showing up at the very moment she had decided to forge her own path. What did he want now? Would this derail everything they had worked so hard to create? The tension tightened around them, as uncertainty hung heavily in the air. Lily felt her heart race. How would this unforeseen twist impact the momentum they had built? Lily's heart pounded as she locked eyes with her father. For so many years, he had been a ghost, haunting her thoughts but never near enough to touch. His presence now felt like a thunderstorm looming on the horizon, ready to either rain down fury or wash away everything she had worked for. The crowd quieted, sensing the shift. Excitement turned to confusion, then to apprehension. Lily, he breathed, his voice barely breaking the fragile silence. She could see the lines of worry etched deep into his face, a man who had grown older but never wiser in their absence. What do you want? Her voice came out sharper than she had intended, cutting through the tension. A few gasps echoed in the background. The crowd was captivated by this unexpected drama unfolding before them. I came to see you, he stammered, his posture tense, as if he was bracing for the impact of her rejection. I've heard about your plans this art night. I didn't realize how important it was to you. Lily scoffed, anger bubbling up inside her. You've never cared about anything I've done. Why now? Because you want something from me? Uncertainty clouded her mind, but her words rang with clarity. She had built this vision from the ground up, brick by emotional brick. He had missed every milestone, and now he just wanted to step into her life, as if nothing had happened. A woman from the crowd stepped forward, her eyes filled with compassion. Maybe he's here to apologize, she offered. The people around Lily whispered, sharing their opinions, creating a swell of judgment that added to her confusion. An apology? Lily snapped, facing her father again. After all this time, you think a few words can fix anything? Please, just give me a chance to explain, he implored, desperation creeping into his voice. I've been a fool, Lily. You're my daughter, and I want to be part of your life again. For a moment, Lily hesitated, feeling the flicker of hope compete with the weight of betrayal. Could he actually mean it? Part of her wanted to reach out, to embrace the possibility of reconciliation, the healing she had craved. But another part of her clung to the hurt, the emptiness of growing up without him. The young girl with the sketchbook stepped closer, her innocent curiosity palpable. What if you let him speak? Maybe he is trying to make things right, she whispered to Lily, her bright eyes wide with hope. Lily could hardly breathe. This wasn't just about her father, this was about the entire art night and everything she created with it. The wall of remembrance they envisioned felt like a fragile dream now teetering on the edge of reality. Could she allow him in, knowing it might shatter the delicate balance of her plans? Please, Lily, her father continued, his voice shaking. I'm sorry for everything. Can't we try again? Tears threatened to spill, but she held them at bay. The crowd's eyes were on her, awaiting her decision. It felt as if they had become part of her story. With her heart racing, Lily took a deep breath. I don't know if I can trust you, she admitted, her voice trembling but firm. But if you really want to be a part of my life, you'll need to show me. Starting with this event. The crowd buzzed with excitement, an unexpected twist to the story, the potential for healing amidst the hurt. But as Lily felt their eyes upon her, she wondered if the promise of connection would outweigh the consequences of reopening old wounds. Would she be able to share her stage with someone who had walked away? Or was this the beginning of a new ruin? As her heart twisted, the uncertainty hung like fog, thick and heavy, waiting to be cut through by the dawn of understanding, or worse, the darkness of heartbreak. What lay ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain: their lives were intertwined once more, and the surprises had only just begun. Lily's heart raced as she stood at a crossroads, her father's plea echoing in her ears. The noise of the crowd faded into a distant hum, and she felt a sudden sting of vulnerability. She wasn't just facing her father, she was facing years of unanswered questions and buried emotions. Why now? She whispered, almost to herself, as she searched his gaze for sincerity. His eyes, once so familiar, now held a mixture of regret and longing. It unnerved her. "I know I've messed up," he said, his voice softening, "but I've changed. I want to support you, to see you thrive. I'm proud of you, Lily." The words were like a flicker of light cutting through a fog. Yet, that flicker was also terrifying. She felt as if a door had creaked open, revealing a world she had closed off for so long. It was a world where she might have had a father cheering her on, a presumption she never dared make. The girl with the sketchbook, still watching with bright eyes, stepped forward again. "Maybe he just needs a chance," she urged, her innocence almost disarming. "Sometimes, people make mistakes." The crowd murmured, a swirl of voices offering shade to Lily's inward struggle. She looked at the faces surrounding her, each brimming with their own expectations and hopes. What if she let him in? What if she didn't? The stakes felt impossibly high. "I've worked so hard for this night," she said, the weight of the event pressing against her chest. "I can't just put everything I've fought for in your hands, as if you have the power to fix things." Her father nodded, taking a hesitant step closer. "I understand. I don't want to take over. I just want to be here. To respect what you've built." The sincerity in his voice felt like a warm touch on her heart, but trust didn't come easy after being abandoned. "Why should I believe you?" she shot back, her voice cracking. "Words are just words." "I can show you," he promised. "I can help you make this event the success it deserves to be. Let me prove to you that I'm not the man who left. I want to be part of the life that I missed. Please." His eyes searched hers, a mix of vulnerability and hope. She could see the corners of his mouth tighten, as if he was holding back his own waves of emotion. It stirred something in her. What if he could be different? What if deep down this was as much for him as it was for her? The thought was almost dizzying, mixed with fear that came from years of silence and distance. Lily glanced sideways at the girl, whose hopeful expression mirrored the flicker of uncertainty in her own heart. Perhaps this chance wasn't a betrayal. Perhaps it could be the beginning of something new, something better. But the risk loomed large, like a shadow over her fragile hope. "I'll consider it," Lily finally said, her voice steadying even as her heart fluttered with fear. "But you need to understand, I won't tolerate any more disappointment. This is my dream, my moment." "I promise to respect that," her father said, relief washing over his features. "Thank you for giving me a chance." But as the crowd erupted in subdued applause, a new thought crept into Lily's mind. What if this effort to reconnect only led to more heartache? As she glanced at her father, the question hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. Could she really embark on this journey with him? And if she did, what would it mean if it didn't work out? The unfinished path ahead loomed like an enigma, full of potential turns. Just as fear clawed at her, a pulse of hope surged. Perhaps this was the start of a transformation, not just for her father but for her as well. As she steeled herself to take the next step, her heart beat loudly, resonating with both apprehension and a flicker of exciting possibility. Would they find a way forward together, or would old patterns pull them apart again? The answer was still waiting in the shadows, just out of reach. But maybe, just maybe, the light ahead shone a little brighter. The art night dawned, vibrant and alive. As the sun gleamed off the streets, a sense of hope fluttered through the air like confetti. David stood beside Lily, watching the crowd flow in, excitement rippling across their faces. Every moment felt electric, a celebration of resilience and connection. Lily's heart raced with anticipation. Her paintings adorned the walls, each one telling a different tale, a story of struggles, triumphs, hope, and healing. Sam, a steadfast presence, stood nearby chatting with a group of visitors, sharing the impact of mentorship. For David, it was a revelation to see his daughter shine so brightly, her spirit ignited by creativity and acceptance. "Look at all these people, Dad." Lily beamed, her eyes sparkling with joy as she took in the lively gathering. "They're here for us." "Yes, they are," David replied, beaming with pride himself. He had stepped into a new world, one where vulnerability triumphed over prestige. The doubts, previous jeers, and societal expectations faded behind him like ghosts as he watched her flourish. The atmosphere simmered with energy as each person shared their stories, laughter threading through the air, mingling with the scents of fresh paint and the soft melodies of local musicians filling the backdrop. It was beautiful, this blend of voices, this mosaic of human experience. That I in the corner, they had set up a wall of hope, a giant canvas inviting everyone to contribute with a word, a symbol, or a doodle. Lily watched as art emerged from the hearts of strangers, their emotions laced into vibrant colors. As a young child added a bright sun, Lily could barely contain her pride. This was what it meant, connection. As the event progressed, a soft voice broke through the buzz. It belonged to the older man, sharing his daughter's story with all who would listen. "Art carries the echoes of love lost and how we can endure," he unfolded, capturing every heart with his honesty. Silence enveloped the crowd, heads nodding in shared understanding, tears glistening in many eyes. Lily stepped forward, feeling an overwhelming urge to add her voice to the dialogue. "Art is the bridge between us," she said, her heart pounding with hope. "It celebrates our stories, our pain, our joy. It helps us heal." The applause that followed was thunderous, echoing in her chest. David's heart swelled. He could finally see his daughter reaching out, not just to the crowd but to himself as well. Their bond had transformed. She was no longer just his little girl, she was a confident artist, unafraid to share her truth. Maybe there was hope for him too. Hours passed, filled with connection, learning, and laughter. But Lily kept her eye on her father, wondering how their fragile bond would hold. As night fell, she felt a knot in her stomach. Her father hadn't spoken much since the event began, a stillness surrounding him. Had he come to regret this journey they were on together? As they mingled under the twinkling lights, she cornered him near her artwork, her heart racing. "Dad, what's wrong?" she asked softly, searching his face. He hesitated, swallowing the words that swelled in his throat. "I just never realized how much I had missed," he admitted at last, pain dancing in his eyes. "Watching you today, it broke me, and rebuilt me at the same time. I didn't see you before. I failed you." Her heart ached at the raw honesty in his voice, but amidst the sorrow was a flicker of possibility. "This is our chance, Dad," she said, reaching for his hands. "We can do this together. We can turn this into something consistent, something real." David nodded, tears brimming in his eyes as he squeezed her hands, warmth enveloping them. "You're right. I want to be part of your life, right beside you. I'll support you every step of the way, no matter how many times I stumble. Just as long as you let me, if you'll have me." The crowd swelled around them, the energy of understanding palpable. One by one, people gathered to share, add to the wall of hope, and create a web of connection. Laughter and tears collided in a beautiful symphony, tripping over joy and tenderness. As they stood together beneath the soft glow of lights, amidst the colors of dream soaring, Lily felt an overwhelming sense of unity. The once distant echo of her father felt like a heartbeat beside her now. Together, they could weave empathy throughout their story, a testament that circumstances could shift, and hearts could change. That it was a beginning, not just for their families, but for a community. Lily's hope burned bright, no longer weighed down by doubt or resentment. It was about healing, expression, and speaking the unspoken truths so often brushed aside. As the night unfolded into laughter and newfound friendships, David stepped forward, wanting to connect with those who had been on the fringes. Together, as father and daughter, they reached towards others. "Let us continue to create, share, and embrace these stories," he called out, his voice unwavering. The crowd responded with a thunderous cheer, hearts woven together, ready to dismantle the walls that had kept them apart for too long. And for Lily, it was not just a night of art, it was the moment that solidified a bond unbreakable, glowing brightly in the tapestry of their lives. This was the transformation they both desperately needed: an embrace of the past, a celebration of the present, and an open door to the future. As she stood in the light of all that had blossomed, Lily felt empowered by love, creativity, and the promise of tomorrow. From this moment, they would flourish. Now, as you finish this journey with Lily and David, remember their story of connection and transformation. This is your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because it truly helps us reach more hearts. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to know how you feel, and don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.